The Japanese method to keep your toilet sparkling for 6 months without scrubbing sounds impossible, but there's actually a reason it works. Most people believe a clean toilet only stays clean if you scrub it hard, often, with a brush, some spray, and a little bit of dread. That's just how it goes, right? You clean it today, and in a few days, the stains creep back. The ring around the waterline, the dull yellow spots under the rim, so you scrub again and again. It feels like a never-ending chore that nobody can escape. But in Japan, many households almost never scrub their toilets, and their toilets stay clean for months at a time. Not because they have some secret brush, not because they clean more often. It's because they follow a completely different idea about what cleaning even means. If you're enjoying learning simple ideas like this, tap the hype button to give this video some extra support while we keep uncovering why this method works. Here's the strange part. The Japanese approach isn't really about cleaning at all. It's about stopping dirt before it ever gets the chance to stick. Once you understand why that works, toilet cleaning stops feeling like a battle. It starts feeling like a simple habit you barely notice. Let's start with the problem almost everyone deals with: hard water. Most tap water carries tiny invisible bits of minerals, like calcium and magnesium. You can't see them in a glass of water, but every time water sits in your toilet bowl, some of it evaporates, and those minerals get left behind. Over time, they build up, they harden, they turn into that stubborn ring you see near the waterline. At the same time, tiny living things called biofilms can grow in damp spots. That's the slimy or pink film you sometimes see near the base of the bowl or under the rim. It thrives where things stay wet and dark. Most people respond to all of this the same way. They wait until the stains show up and then they scrub hard with a brush, sometimes with bleach. It feels like the only option, because that's the only method most of us were ever taught. Clean it when it's dirty, scrub until it looks new again, repeat forever. This is normal in most of the world, so normal that nobody questions it. But it turns out this whole approach is built on a mistaken idea. Here is the big shift. In Japan, cleaning a toilet isn't about removing dirt after it shows up. It's about stopping dirt from ever attaching to the surface in the first place. That single idea changes everything. Think about it like this. Once a stain has hardened onto porcelain, you basically have two choices. You either scrub it off, which takes force and time, or you use something strong enough to dissolve it, which also takes effort. But if you stop the stain from ever locking onto the surface, you never have to fight it at all. There's nothing to scrub, because there's nothing there. This is the heart of the Japanese method: prevention instead of removal. And once you see it this way, a spotless toilet with almost no scrubbing starts to make a lot more sense. Now let's talk about why stains form in the first place, using very simple science. No complicated words, just the basic idea. Remember those minerals in hard water, calcium and magnesium? When water sits still in the bowl and slowly evaporates, those minerals don't disappear. They stay behind and slowly bond to the surface of the porcelain. At first, this bond is weak and loose, but if you leave it alone for days or weeks, it hardens into a tough, chalky layer. Once that happens, it becomes very difficult to remove without serious scrubbing. At the same time, biofilms use those same rough, mineral-covered spots to grip onto the bowl. A smooth surface is hard for them to hold onto. A surface covered in tiny mineral bumps is much easier. So mineral buildup and biofilm growth actually feed off each other. One makes it easier for the other to take hold. This is the real secret behind stubborn toilet stains. It isn't really dirt. It's a slow chemical process happening quietly, day after day, until it turns into something visible. And here's the good news. That chemical process can be stopped using things you probably already have in your kitchen. 3 ingredients matter the most in this method: vinegar, citric acid, and baking soda. Each one works differently because each one fights a different kind of stain. Vinegar and citric acid are both mild acids. Mineral buildup, like the calcium ring near the waterline, is the opposite of acidic. So when a mild acid touches it, a chemical reaction happens. The hardened mineral slowly turns back into a soft, dissolvable form. It doesn't need to be scrubbed off. It practically melts away on its own, as long as you give it enough time to sit and work. Baking soda works differently. It's mild and slightly alkaline, which makes it great at breaking down oily organic residue like the buildup biofilms leave behind. It also helps neutralize odors and softens grime, so it lifts away easily. And here's a fun detail. When vinegar and baking soda are combined, they fizz. That bubbling isn't just for show. Those tiny bubbles physically lift grime and biofilm off the surface, gently loosening it from underneath without a single scratch from a brush. This is the entire foundation of the method. Acids dissolve mineral stains. Baking soda breaks down organic grime. Bubbles gently lift both away. No force required. Now compare that to how most of the world cleans. The typical Western approach waits for stains to build up, then attacks them with a stiff brush and strong chemicals like bleach. It gets results, but it comes at a cost. Bleach is great at killing germs, but it isn't actually good at dissolving mineral buildup. In areas with hard water, bleach can even react with dissolved iron in the water, which sometimes deepens yellow or brown stains instead of removing them. And scrubbing itself causes a hidden problem. Every time a stiff brush scrapes across porcelain, it creates microscopic scratches in the glaze, the smooth protective coating on the surface. You can't see these scratches with your eyes, but they're there. And those tiny scratches make the surface rougher, which means the next round of minerals and grime has an even easier time gripping on. So scrubbing today can quietly make tomorrow's stains form faster. This is the real difference between the two philosophies. One approach scrubs stains away after they form, slowly damaging the surface in the process. The other approach prevents the stains from forming at all, keeping the surface smooth and protected for much longer. So how does this actually work day to day? It comes down to a simple weekly habit. At the end of the day, when the toilet won't be used again until morning, about 1 cup of plain white vinegar or a citric acid solution gets poured directly into the bowl. Then it's left alone overnight. No scrubbing, no rinsing, just time. Overnight, that mild acid slowly dissolves any new mineral deposits before they have a chance to harden. By morning, a simple flush washes everything away. Good bathroom ventilation matters here too. Keeping the room from staying damp and humid helps prevent mold from getting a foothold in the first place. Consistency is what makes this work. It's not about one deep clean. It's about never letting buildup get the chance to start. Once a month, there's a slightly deeper version of this same idea. First, the water level in the bowl is lowered, either by using a bucket of water to trigger a partial flush or with a small manual pump. This exposes areas that are normally underwater, including the spots just under the rim where grime likes to hide. Undiluted vinegar or citric acid is then applied directly to those dry, exposed surfaces, especially under the rim and around the small holes where flush water usually comes out. It sits there for about 3 minutes. Just enough time for the acid to break the mineral bonds. Still no scrubbing. The chemistry does the work. While that's dissolving, a soft microfiber cloth is used to wipe down the outside of the toilet, the seat, and the lid, using a gentle, non-abrasive cleaner. After the 3 minutes are up, one flush rinses everything clean. Every part of this monthly routine follows the same logic as the weekly one. Target the hidden spots, let the chemistry do the dissolving, and avoid anything that scratches the surface. Now here's where the story takes a surprising turn, because it's not just about vinegar and baking soda. Some of the most advanced toilets in the world use nanotechnology, meaning technology built at an incredibly tiny scale, smaller than you could ever see, to make stains almost impossible to form in the first place. Ordinary ceramic glaze, even though it looks perfectly smooth, actually has tiny invisible pits and rough spots when you zoom in far enough. Those tiny imperfections are exactly where minerals and grime like to grab hold. So some manufacturers created special glazes, fired at an incredibly smooth, almost glass-like level, so there are barely any tiny pits left for anything to stick to. One well-known version is called Cephion Tect. This glaze is so smooth that dirt simply can't find anywhere to grip. On top of that, the surface even carries a tiny electrical charge that pushes away certain kinds of grime, almost like two magnets repelling each other. Another approach creates a surface that loves water so much that it spreads out into a thin, even sheet instead of forming droplets. When the toilet flushes, that thin sheet of water slides underneath any waste sitting on the surface and carries it away, almost like a tiny wave lifting debris off a beach. Some advanced toilets take this even further with a pre-mist feature. Right before you use the toilet, a sensor detects you and sprays a light mist of water into the dry bowl. That thin layer of water creates a barrier, so waste never touches the dry ceramic directly. It just glides off during the flush instead of sticking. None of this requires magic. It's simply very careful, very small-scale engineering, all built around the same idea we already know. Stop things from sticking in the first place, and you never have to scrub them off. The most advanced smart toilets need a little extra care every 6 months. But it's simple, Quiet maintenance, not scrubbing. The small spray wand used for washing gets a gentle descaling rinse with a diluted acid solution, so mineral buildup never has the chance to clog it. A small water filter gets pulled out, rinsed under running water, and put back in place. A deodorizing cartridge gets swapped out for a fresh one. None of this takes more than a few minutes, and none of it involves a brush. It's the same idea as everything else in this method, just applied to the machine parts instead of the porcelain. Not every toilet comes with this kind of built-in technology, but there's a way to get something similar using an aftermarket coating, meaning a coating you add yourself after the toilet is already installed. One popular option in Japan uses a coating made from a blend of silicone and fluorine. Before applying it, the bowl has to be completely clean and completely dry. Even a small amount of leftover moisture can stop the coating from bonding properly. The liquid is wiped on in one smooth direction using a special applicator, then left to cure or harden for a few hours. Once it sets, this coating repels water and prevents minerals from crystallizing on the surface. Water beads up and slides right off, taking grime along with it. There's also a newer style of coating that works in 2 layers. The first layer is an incredibly thin, textured base that permanently bonds to the porcelain. The second layer is a slippery lubricant that sits inside that textured base, like water held inside a sponge. This combination creates an extremely slick surface that waste simply can't stick to. Over time and many flushes, that slippery top layer gradually wears down, so it needs to be refreshed every so often with a quick spray. But the permanent base underneath keeps working in the background the whole time. Alongside all this science, everyday Japanese cleaning products are built around the exact same philosophy of prevention rather than force. One popular spray combines fast-acting surfactants, ingredients that help lift grime, with gentle chelating agents, which are compounds that grab onto mineral ions and stop them from settling back onto the surface. After spraying and rinsing, it leaves behind an invisible layer that makes it harder for new stains to stick. Another clever product simply sits inside the toilet tank. Every single time the toilet flushes, water passes over it and picks up a small, safe dose of cleaning agents, coating the bowl with protection automatically. It works quietly in the background for weeks at a time, without anyone lifting a finger. There are even specially designed wipes made from a paper that dissolves quickly in water. You can use them to wipe down surfaces, then flush them away safely, since they break apart before they ever reach the plumbing. None of these products are trying to be dramatic or powerful. They're trying to be quiet and constant, doing small amounts of work continuously, so nothing ever has the chance to build up into a big problem. This same way of thinking even applies when a toilet won't be used at all for a long stretch of time, like 6 months in an empty vacation home. You might think leaving it alone is the safest choice, but standing water left untouched can actually turn into a real problem. It can grow bacteria and mold, and over many months, the small water seal inside the pipes can slowly dry out completely. Once that seal is gone, sewer gas can drift up into the house, and in humid areas, small pests can even find their way in through the empty pipe. So there's a simple way to prepare a toilet for a long break. First, everything is cleaned thoroughly with vinegar or citric acid and baking soda, just like usual. Then the water supply is shut off and the toilet is flushed and drained as completely as possible, using a sponge or a small pump to remove any water left sitting in the bowl and tank. A little dry baking soda is placed in the empty bowl to quietly absorb any odors. Finally, plastic wrap is stretched tightly over the opening and taped down along the rim, sealing it completely until someone returns. It's the same core idea again, just stretched out over months instead of days. Stop problems before they start, instead of dealing with them later. But here's the part of the story that ties everything together, and it has nothing to do with chemistry at all. In Japanese schools, students spend time every single day cleaning their own classrooms and bathrooms. It's simply part of the school day, not a punishment, not something outsourced to someone else. It's called soji, and it's treated as a normal, shared responsibility. Growing up with this habit changes how people think about cleaning as adults. It stops feeling like an unpleasant chore forced onto you and starts feeling like a small, normal part of taking care of a shared space. When everyone shares the responsibility, nobody leaves a mess behind for someone else to deal with later. This mindset shows up in small daily habits too. Some households encourage practices that simply reduce mess before it happens, like keeping splashes to a minimum, which naturally cuts down on staining around the base of the toilet. There's even a cultural belief that a clean bathroom brings good luck and good fortune. Whether or not you believe that part, it reveals something important. Cleaning isn't treated as a punishment in this culture. It's treated as something almost hopeful, a small daily act of care. When you put all of these pieces together, chemistry, clever coatings, everyday habits, and a mindset built around prevention, you start to see the real secret behind a toilet that stays clean for 6 months without scrubbing. The real secret was never the vinegar. It was never the citric acid, or the fancy coatings, or the nanotechnology glaze. Those are just tools. Useful tools, but still just tools. The real secret is a different way of thinking. Instead of asking, how do I remove this stain? The question becomes, how do I stop this stain from ever forming? Once you start thinking that way, cleaning stops being an endless fight. It becomes a small, steady habit, something you barely have to think about because you're never letting the mess get a chance to start. And that's the quiet genius behind the Japanese method. Not a magic trick, just a smarter question, asked a little earlier than most of us are used to asking it.